Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star Part 299 based on novel. So let's start. Life on Earth was as peaceful as ever. The war between the two major camps in the primal universe had not aroused the slightest trace of disruption to the populace living on the countless life planets. This populace was made up of the common people. Strolling along the wide and spacious pavements, it was common to see warriors walking out of dojos in their training uniforms, and there would be many universe businessmen walking down the streets while discussing business matters. Luo family. A purple-robed figure stood before the door of an old mansion. This old mansion was the house of the Luo family. Even on Earth, it had a unique significance. By the doorstep, there were guards to stop intruders or simply the common public who were trying to satisfy their curiosity. But where the purple-robed figure stood, it seemed like the people walking past him or even the guards at the doors could not see him at all. Mama, is this Luo Feng's house? Yes, this is Luo Feng's house. Haven't you been making a racket about coming to Earth to see the noblest leader of the pulse of us earthlings? Mama has fulfilled my promise and brought you here. When we get back to Jade Birchstar, you must train hard at the dojo. Yes, Mama. I heard that Luo Feng was born in a distant base city era of our Earth, and at that time, there were many cities that were in ruins or desolate waste. I want to see them all. Don't worry. This time around, we have ample time on Earth. We can go to many attractions. A pair of mother and son, who both had black hair and black eyes with yellow skin, were walking along a sidewalk a distance away from Luo family's mansion. After a brief discussion, they left shortly after. Every day, there would be many people coming to this place even during the base city era. Since the time when Luo Feng and company did not hesitate to risk their lives to fight that swallowing beast, his status had already soared to the level of an absolute hero. Thereafter, when the Nuolanshan family clan descended on Earth, Luo Feng had once again stepped out to ward off their attacks. Luo Feng's status got higher and higher, and the publicity on Earth would naturally praise him to even higher elevations. There were also earthlings roaming about the universe who had benefited greatly from Luo Feng's help. This made them even more thankful for Luo Feng. Therefore, over the past tens of thousands of years, generations of earthlings had passed on the heroic deeds of Luo Feng, and this was how Luo Feng became the greatest leader and godly spirit in the eyes of all earthlings entering the universe era. A voice resounded, "Shahua Island leader." The purple-robed figure turned around to look. On a bustling sidewalk crowded with people, there was a black-haired youth garbed in a silver-white robe approaching from a distance away. The people around him could not see him at all. It was as though they were in a different dimension altogether. On the pavement, there were many earthlings who specially came from other faraway planets to learn about how Luo Feng grew up through traces that were found all over his homeland. Yet no one was the slightest bit aware that Luo Feng was walking alongside them. Luo Feng, the purple-robed figure, greeted with a smile. I did not expect Shahua Island leader to choose to meet here. Luo Feng walked to the front of the mansion, then raised his head to take a look. I wanted to come and see the extraordinary great being from the talented young generation who rose from the human race at such a tremendous rate, Shahua Island leader said in a gentle tone. Exactly how did he manage to rise? And what kind of environment could have cultivated this talent? Luo Feng smiled. He took one look at this Shahua Island master, who was so handsome that he could be an epitome of perfection but seemed to be more of a neutral gender. However, this Shahua Island leader was a unique life form, so it was also possible that he did not have any gender at all. Out of all you humans, the one I respect the most is Teacher Origin, Shahua Master said softly with a sigh. Especially the virtual universe Teacher Origin created. This virtual universe instantly made your culture 1,000, a million times more splendid. Even for faraway cultures that were scattered all over the universe, colliding with one another in the virtual universe could create new sparks. Various imaginations could become tangible within the virtual universe. Even I myself often get to experience your human culture within the virtual universe. Luo Feng nodded. With or without the virtual universe, it was indeed a world of difference. When I was in the virtual universe, I have seen quite a few rounds of the war of talents of you humans. Only that particular year of the War of Talents that you participated in. I was wandering on an adventure in Universe Ocean and could not dare get distracted. Therefore, I clean forgot about watching it. Shahua Island leader shook his head while lamenting. If I had watched it, I would be tempted to take you under my wing, taking you in as my disciple. How wonderful that would have been. This inheritance of Duan Dong River. How easy would it be for me to lay hands on it? Even if Shahua Island leader had watched that particular round of War of Talents earlier on, you would not want me as your disciple, Luo Feng said. At that time, I was not the most outstanding one. True. Shahua Island master shook his head and lamented again. No one will dare proclaim to know what will happen in the future. Even if I had seen your performance that day, I would not have guessed your fate. I would never have expected a young chap from an indigenous race to be able to rise to be my equal when he matured. Luo Feng gave a slight frown and said, Shahua Island leader's purpose in coming here is not merely to have a chat with me, right? Shahua Island leader's expression changed instantly. Luo Feng. Shahua Island leader stared at Luo Feng. My purpose here is simple. Now, all the major groups of powers within the entire primal universe are paying close attention to the final choice of my Freedom Alliance. In other words, whichever side my Freedom Alliance chooses to join, that side will be determined as the winner. Luo Feng nodded slightly. And now, there are split opinions within my Freedom Alliance, said Shahua Island leader said. One part wants to join your human camp. The other part wants even more. I belong to the latter part. My purpose in coming here is that I only have one goal, that you humans will impart to me the cultivation experiences of that ancient civilization on how I can cultivate the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master. Shahua Island leader looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng instantly let out a hint of a sneer. Don't rush to reject me, Shahua master said. I come here representing myself. In other words, the cultivation experiences to be able to cultivate to the ultimate limit that you humans give me are solely mine to own. If you give me this inheritance, I will not impart it to any other being of the Freedom Alliance. And I will lead and persuade all those under my influence in the Freedom Alliance to join your human camp. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. You mean to say? Yes. That is exactly what I mean. You humans only need to fulfill an insignificant condition that the Freedom Alliance demand. As for the cultivation experiences to achieve an ultimate limit, you only need to give it to me. I will help you humans now that the Freedom Alliance is split in two internally and I have much influence over one of these two groups. If I help you, the stalemate will soon come to an end, and the Freedom Alliance will join your human camp. Besides, I am no fool. After I get what I am after, I will not be so silly as to share it with other great beings. Wouldn't that be the same as training my enemy? Shahua Island leader looked at Luo Feng. What do you think of my proposal? Luo Feng was tempted. If the experiences of the ancient civilization on how to cultivate to achieve the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master were only imparted to Shahua Island leader, the humans would not need to worry about him spreading it to outsiders. Unless Shahua Island leader was, indeed, a fool. By only giving it to him, I can get over 400 universe masters to join my human camp. Luo Feng nodded discreetly. Previously, his plan might have been impressive, but there were still risks attached. If the Freedom Alliance joined his human camp, they would truly be freed from any possible risk. Give me a moment, Luo Feng said. At that moment, in the virtual universe, Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City leader, Pengong Master, and Darkness Master met on the apex of Thunder Island. This was what he demanded, to give him the experiences of the ancient civilization on how to cultivate to achieve the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master, Luo Feng said. Then he will help us. Teacher, Darkness, Pengong, what do you all think about his demands? Only giving it to him alone? Darkness muttered to himself pensively. Pengong also nodded slightly. Now there are two voices within the Freedom Alliance. One is willing to join us, the other is reluctant to do so and demands that we give them more. Shahua Island leader is the leader of the group with the second voice. If he helps us, it is indeed possible to achieve a united voice within the Freedom Alliance as soon as possible. Just giving it to him alone is possible, Primal Chaos City leader said slowly. A single universe supreme master does not affect the big picture. True. And when we give him the information about the inheritance, we can be as brief as possible. Darkness Master sneered. He doesn't even know what the inheritance we have is like. We can give him simplified information, then tell him that it's what we got. What can he do? Luo Feng also nodded. The 4 highest-ranked great beings of the human race all felt that giving the information to Shahua Island leader alone in exchange for over 400 universe masters joining the human camp was a feasible deal. And we must give him a portion before the war and the other portion after the war. Luo Feng smiled. The portion before the war will have him coveting for more. After the war, when we give him the other portion, he may find it too brief, but the war will have ended. So what if he has regrets? True. We can accede to his request. The higher-ups of the humans all nodded their agreements. Primal Chaos City leader even contacted Teacher Origin once to consult him about this matter. Teacher Origin was also in agreement. Firstly, they only had to give information to Shahua Island leader. Secondly, even if he managed to get his hands on that simplified information on that inheritance, it would still be extremely tough for Shahua Island leader to achieve a breakthrough and cultivate to reach the ultimate limit. Earth. Internally, the human race has finished this discussion. Luo Feng looked at Shahua Island leader. And all agreed. Shahua Island leader heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a smile. Before the war, we humans will give you a third of the information, said Luo Feng. If the Freedom Alliance joins the human camp in this war, then after the war has ended, we will give you the other 2/3 of the information. Deal. Shahua Island leader nodded. When will you give me the information? Very soon. Luo Feng replied. The human race has held an internal discussion. Luo Feng looked at Shahua Island leader. And we have agreed to accede to your request. After your human camp gives me part of the information, I will act fast and urge the Freedom Alliance to join your camp, Shahua Island leader said without further ado. The human camp, indeed, prepared a set of information on the inheritance that very same day and handed it over to Shahua Island leader, who was excited and overjoyed to see it. This partial information alone was able to stir up his desire for more, and he was already yearning to lay hands on the remaining 2/3. The only thing was, he had to wait until after the war. The humans were all waiting anxiously. Shahua Island leader wouldn't go back on his word after receiving the information and not help us as promised, would he? Fret not. Shahua Island leader put so much effort into creating that Freedom Alliance, and even became an alliance master, for what? All of it was just for the inheritance, wasn't it? It will do him no good at all if any of the universe masters from the Freedom Alliance also gets a part of it. Getting it all for himself is enough. He will handle this appropriately. Luo Feng, Darkness Master, Primal Chaos City leader, and the rest were waiting anxiously. They were all worried that an accident might happen midway. After all, the Freedom Alliance was brimming with great beings. Even if Shahua Island leader were to help, he was also unable to give a 100% guarantee that he would succeed in his persuasion. Half a month after being given a third of the information on cultivation experiences from the inheritance, Shahua Island leader finally sent a piece of news. Internally, the Freedom Alliance has arrived at a consensus. The Alliance has decided to join the human camp. The vast primal universe was divided into 2 major camps. The human camp's meeting point was the primal secret region, while the meeting point for the United Forces camp was Bloodtooth Star. 90% of Bloodtooth Star was composed of a vast ocean. At that moment, there was an old ship adrift on the Bloodtooth Star Ocean where a group of supreme existences from all over the entire primal universe had gathered. Together, they were making merry to their heart's content, drinking the most precious wine and dining on the finest cuisine. With our combined strength, what can those puny little humans do to us? Freedom Alliance. It's so scattered. It only became united because the 2 major camps were pressuring it. Wait for the exchange of blows during this war. You all will see this happening. That Freedom Alliance is definitely going to have internal conflicts, and then they will be split up for sure. They are not going to be our match at all. The 10 noble existences were seated in a dispersed manner as they talked about it brazenly. They were Shock Demon Ancestor from the Demons, Father God of the Automaton Race, Empress of the Bug Clan, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan, Holy Master of the Crystal Clan, Black Universe Creator, Jew, Virtual Real Devil God, Northern Territory Alliance Master, and Space Ancestor. All of them put together represented half the number of Universe Supreme Masters in the entire Primal Universe. If we all join forces, the marvelous combination of the various Supreme True Treasures will definitely unleash the strongest combat power. Even if the Freedom Alliance and Human Camp combine forces, we still have a chance of beating them. True. What a pity. That old fellow, Sitting Mountain Guest, refuses to join us, or rather, refuses to take any side at all. Just what is going through the mind of Sitting Mountain Guest? If he joins us, given his secretive and endless stream of methods, together with the numerous Universe Masters under our command, we can definitely come up with more methods. Then our chances of winning will increase by leaps and bounds. You are gravely mistaken if you really think so. Space Ancestor was seated within the ship while his tail extended all the way out and directly into the large ocean. Sitting Mountain Guest and Luo Feng share a deep relationship, much deeper than any of you presume to know. Oh! Sitting Mountain Guest and Luo Feng? What relationship? Everyone was surprised as they looked toward Space Ancestor. Teacher and disciple. Space Ancestor's eyes swept around his surroundings as he revealed these two words. This sudden revelation shocked all the Universe Supreme Masters. Previously, Sitting Mountain Guest had certainly disallowed Space Ancestor from divulging his actual relationship with Luo Feng to the outside world unless Luo Feng gained the ability to protect himself. Now that Luo Feng could protect himself, even if Space Ancestor were to reveal their true relationship, he would not be considered as offending Sitting Mountain Guest. After all, deep down in his heart, the more Space Ancestor interacted with Sitting Mountain Guest, the more fearful he was of him. However, this time around, he was filled with dissatisfaction. He was furious. He felt that Sitting Mountain Guest, being Luo Feng's teacher, must have gained some benefits from this arrangement. After all, in this vast universe, a teacher-disciple relationship was the most important kind. How could Space Ancestor not feel any jealousy for Sitting Mountain Guest? I see. That Sitting Mountain Guest. Previously, he brought up that disciple, Flame Emperor, and now, he had cultivated this Milky Way Horde leader, who was much more impressive than Flame Emperor. How loathsome Sitting Mountain Guest is. He must have gotten the inheritance from his disciple way back then. No wonder he simply refused to join us when I invited him. That fellow is always the first in line for all sorts of benefits. Humph. These Supreme Masters were the top-level beings of the Primal Universe. For countless years, they had their fair shares of fights against one another, and at the very least, they had some understanding of one another. But toward Sitting Mountain Guest, they harbored complex emotions. They were jealous and envious of him, but at the same time, they were fearful and cautious of him. There were even times when they had to beg him for help. No one knew how powerful Sitting Mountain Guest was. What they knew was that he had never fought anyone in a head-on confrontation. He was more inclined toward the use of other supplementary methods to tease his opponents. On the big ship, this group of top-level existences of the Primal Universe was brazenly voicing their opinions about various matters. One moment, they could be discussing the war between the two major camps, the next they could be talking about Universe Ocean, and the next moment, they could be discussing other Supreme Masters. Just as they were pouring out their thoughts, without warning, the streamlined, towering body of Father God of the Automaton Race rose to his feet suddenly. Father God of the Automaton Race might always have stayed within that black sphere body, but just like the rest, he had a godly body. However, his approach involved a machine-type combat method, so he usually stayed within his black sphere where it was safer and where he could unleash a much more powerful combat ability. But in the Primal Universe, the greatest amount of power these Universe Supreme Masters could unleash was limited to 6th tier as the top level, so it was normal for him to appear in his original body. Everyone. The Empress of the Bug Clan let out a shocked expression. What is it? What happened? Black Universe Creator, Virtual Real Devil God, and the others all looked over. All of them were very baffled over what could have caused the Empress of the Bug Clan and Father God of Automaton race to lose their composure. "I just received the news," Father God of the Automaton race announced in his strong and powerful voice. "The Freedom Alliance has reached a consensus internally and decided to join the human camp." "What? Join the human camp? Not good." One by one, their expressions changed drastically. Previously, before the various Supreme Masters who traveled alone joined them, the United Forces camp would never have been able to fight against the combined power of the Freedom Alliance and the human camp. However, after the various lone Supreme Masters joined them with their supreme true treasures, and with the Space Beast Alliance's help, they had a fighting chance. However, this battle would be extremely trying because both sides were equally powerful. Space Master suddenly let out a low growl. "We need to act quickly. No, we need to act now. Let's set out now. There is nothing much to think about. We, the United Forces camp, must set off right away and charge toward the humans' core ground, the primal secret region." Old Beast God. The other Supreme Masters looked in the direction of Space Ancestor. Yes, what Old Beast Master said was right. Yes. Yes. We should act right away. They were all highly intelligent. Even if Space Ancestor had not spelled it out, they would have figured things out on their own. Freedom Alliance has just reached a consensus, so they may not have obtained the part of the information of the inheritance from the humans. We should take the chance and strike before the two parties gather as one. If we charge our way into the humans' primal secret region right away, the crossfire between our two camps will only last for an extremely short time. By the time the Freedom Alliance rushes over, maybe the war will already have ended. Right. We need to make full use of all the time we have. Everyone was of one mind, one thought. They were all aware that the alliance between the humans and the Freedom Alliance would bring them an agonizing war to fight. Who knew? It might even become a prolonged war, a war of attrition. The outcome would be unpredictable. After all, the humans and Freedom Alliance merged. That would mean the two most mysterious beings of the primal universe, Sitting Mountain Guest and Shahua Island Leader, would be there. In addition, there was also Luo Feng, who had received the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. This war was filled with variables. No one was willing to fight such a war of attrition or a war filled with so many variables. They had to win this once and for all and as soon as possible. We must be fast, 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 and end this war as early as we can. They were all very anxious. They knew that, in fact, Freedom Alliance traveled fast. One trip via God Country transportation, followed by another teleportation, and they would arrive. They wanted to make it there before the Freedom Alliance. If not, ending this war was going to be extremely tough. But they had to do this. It was the only way of settling this war that would be relatively easier and faster. Old Beast God, your Space Beast Alliance is going to act as planned, or, Shock Demon Ancestor looked toward Space Ancestor. We can't be bothered about other plans, Space Ancestor decided in his low voice. Now, we must focus all our strength and try to wipe out those humans in one swift stroke. In the end, we must capture the whole group of human universe masters. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The moment they started to act, they would act fast. Old Beast God, Shock Demon Ancestor and the rest of the Supreme Masters seemed to remain on the big ship as though nothing much had changed, but those were just their avatars. Their original bodies had already started returning to their own races to give commands as they all prepared to take their troops out for war. Merely 3 minutes later, in the outer space of Blood Tooth Star, within the vast starlit sky, many massive objects were gathering. At first look, there were 11 gigantic palace-type true treasures belonging to the 11 Universe Supreme Masters who were controlling them from the inside. Each of them was leading a troop of around 40 Universe Masters. Every palace true treasure would fetch a troop of 1 Supreme Master and 40 Universe Masters. These 11 Universe Supreme Masters were Shock Demon Ancestor, Dream Demon Ancestor, Father God of the Automaton race, the Empress of the Bug Clan, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan, Holy Master of the Crystal Clan, Northern Territory Alliance Master, Space Ancestor, Black Universe Creator, Jew, and Virtual Real Devil God. Previously, when the united forces of the three races fought against the humans, Why had Luo Feng not captured the group of universe masters under Father God's protection? Because Father God of the automaton race had remained hidden within his black sphere with the troop, which was also where he could keep on protecting them. So even if those universe masters were attacked by the impact of willpower of that ancient god Eye and did not have much strength to resist it, Father God of the automaton race could use his own body to resist all of it. Now, the United Forces camp would be doing likewise, and they had divided themselves into 11 troops. Each troop would be headed by a universe supreme master. The most ancient god I could attack at any one time would be one troop. Even if it were to launch an attack, with a supreme master by their side to protect them, the troop would be safe. This war. What we all have to do is charge into the humans' primal secret region. Then we will execute all our techniques together, and with one swift move, we are going to bring the human camp to total destruction. Then we have to rely on Empress Palace, belonging to the Empress of the Bug Clan, to swallow up the entire human camp of universe masters. Do not hold back. Act to your heart's content. All the universe masters. For our races. For our future. Let's go, humans' primal secret region. Following Father God's booming voice resounded in every corner, and the 11 massive objects representing the entire United Forces camp took off. Almost at the same time, they all executed their God country transportation and left successively. Previously, the United Forces camp did not attack proactively because they were waiting for the response of the Freedom Alliance. If the Freedom Alliance had not made its choice after waiting for some time, they would have attacked the humans right away. That would anger the Freedom Alliance because if the United Forces camp had really attacked the humans, the Freedom Alliance would not stand to gain anything at all. This was why the United Forces camp was certain that the Freedom Alliance would join the human camp as fast as they could. Previously, they were afraid that they would be pushing the Freedom Alliance to join the human camp, so they did not dare to make reckless moves. Now, the moment they received this confidential information confirming about the internal consensus that the Freedom Alliance had reached, that they would be joining the human camp, the United Forces camp would hold back no more. At the same moment, in the primal secret region of the human territory, in the main palace, a group of human universe masters had gathered. They were all chatting and laughing among themselves. All of them were filled with joy. The Freedom Alliance has reached a consensus. Very soon, the entire alliance will arrive. Once they arrive, we will reallocate all our universe masters. Then the United Forces camp will have no chance of winning at all. Ha ha! They were all waiting for the group of universe masters from the Freedom Alliance to arrive. The United Forces camp would not have received the news already, would they? They may make use of the minor time lapse where the Freedom Alliance has to travel over to launch their attack right away, right? Remote Lord Master suddenly said. The entire hall fell into silence. Fret not. Pengong Master said with a smile. That was a top-level meeting within the Freedom Alliance. All who attended were universe masters, and besides, this concerned their personal interests. The moment they reached a decision, they notified us right away. Would they be so silly as to notify the United Forces camp? Wouldn't they be afraid that we would not hand them the information of the inheritance? The moment he finished speaking, Primal Chaos City Master's expression changed drastically as he suddenly shouted, "Not good. Gather immediately. All you universe masters, brace yourself for war." His thunderous voice resounded throughout the entire core ground of the Primal Secret region to reach the ears of every single universe master. Upon hearing Primal Chaos City leader's voice, Luo Feng, Pengong Master, Darkness Master, and the others all knew that something was terribly wrong. All their expressions changed drastically. Teacher Origin just made a discovery. Primal Chaos City leader immediately notified the numerous human universe masters within the hall. The united force consisting of the demons, the automaton race, and the Bug Clan is going to make use of God country transportation, all at the same time. Their gathering point should be around the surrounding region of one of the demons' territories, Bloodtooth Star. Right now, they have all gathered and only need to make use of God country transportation and teleportation. Thereafter, very soon, they will arrive at our primal secret region. This leaves us with little time. We must gather all our universe masters immediately. Everyone must hide in Black Prison Tower. My brother, the task of protecting our universe masters, I will leave it to you. Yes. Darkness Master nodded. Numerous figures started appearing successively within the hall. They were the figures of universe masters from various races that had joined the human camp. Seeing how pressed for time they were, Darkness Master saw no need for words. With a wave, a black pyramid instantly expanded at an alarming rate and stood erected within the hall. At the same time, he shouted out his orders: everyone must enter Black Prison Tower right away. We are going to prepare for war. All right. Into Black Prison Tower. Supreme True Treasure Black Prison Tower. This was the first time some of these universe masters from the various races had laid eyes on Black Prison Tower, especially those who had just joined the human camp. None of them were flustered because they understood that by hiding within a palace true treasure, with their opponent having no treasures of willpower with impactful forces, they would be very safe. The moment they were unable to resist further, they could immediately hide in the safety of the palace true treasure. At the very least, they would have no problems staying alive. Streaks of light flew into Black Prison Tower. No matter what, all pre-war preparations were completed. They could respond to the start of a war anytime. Everyone. Primal Chaos City Leader transmitted his voice clearly and gave very detailed instructions to over 100 universe masters in Black Prison Tower. United Forces camp will attack suddenly, and my guess is, they will arrive very soon. The strength of the United Forces camp far surpasses ours. But there is no cause for worry. I have another piece of good news for you all. The Freedom Alliance has agreed to join us, the human camp. So long as we can press on for a time, we are bound to obtain victory in this war. Luo Feng, Peng Gong, Darkness, Primal Chaos City Leader looked towards the trio including Luo Feng. You are all clear on what you must do. Luo Feng and the others nodded with smiles. Merely fight a war to pass the time. Very simple. Primal Chaos City Leader transmitted his orders without delay. All Undying Fighters and Sector Lords are to leave via God Country Transportation right away. Leave via God Country Transportation right away. Upon receiving his orders, within an instant, all servants and patrol guards who were originally situated within this core ground immediately reacted in an orderly manner. A group of Sector Lords would follow one Undying, and this would make up one small team. Then a few small teams would make their escape together. Within a minute's time, several hundred God Country transportation waves appeared within the core ground of the Primal Secret region. Primal Chaos City Leader also nodded silently. Let's set off then, he commanded. Luo Feng and the other two nodded as well. Yes. As Darkness Master transformed into a streak of light and flew into Black Prison Tower, Luo Feng, Peng Gong Master, and Primal Chaos City Leader also transformed into streaks of light and flew toward the towering star tower that stood erected outside the palace. In the Primal Secret region, there was a void space that was filled with a thin fog. With their mighty presence, 11 massive objects occupied this void space. We have entered the humans' Primal Secret region. One more teleportation and we will arrive at the humans' core ground. Let's prepare to fight a noteworthy war. Let's all prepare ourselves. Now, I shall unify our teleportation. The cold voice of Father God of Automaton race resonated throughout the entire void space at the same time, as though his voice transmission could transcend time to reach out to any place of his choosing. Soundlessly, 11 massive palace true treasures vanished from the void space. The secluded clusters of palaces were suspended in a particular area of this void space. Behind these clusters of palaces was a gigantic vessel, the boat of Mausoleum, while in front of them, a towering 9-story tower stood erected, Star Tower. At that moment, there was not a single sound heard from these clusters of palaces. They were already devoid of living souls. In a particular spot, 11 towering palace true treasures suddenly appeared. Every single palace true treasure exuded a formidable force. How come there isn't a single human to be found? Emptiness. No living soul. Not even living souls from other races can be found. They had just arrived, and every universe supreme master heading a troop. Within each palace true treasure was shocked to realize that this core ground had become a ghost town. They could not locate a single living soul, and this was the exact situation that worried them the most. Right away, Black Universe Creator transmitted a report about the current situation. Star Tower and the boat of Mausoleum are there. Star Tower may be strong in defense, but it is still possible to cause it to waver. On the other hand, the boat of Mausoleum, no matter how we attack, our efforts will be futile. That human camp must be afraid and timid, so they have all hidden inside the boat of Mausoleum, where they can wait slowly for the Freedom Alliance to arrive. Everyone, they are hiding in the boat of Mausoleum, so there is no way we can touch them, Devil Ancestor of Prison Clan replied via a voice transmission. What should we do? Loathsome humans. Timid humans. They just ought to die. How could they have learned so quickly that we had set off? We acted so quickly. By right, they should have been taken by surprise. The numerous Universe Supreme Masters were all angry and displeased. At that very moment, suddenly, from one of the side doors on the ground floor of the lofty, 9-story tower, a black pyramid that was 1 billion kilometers tall suddenly flew out. The deep abyss at the bottom of the tower had already opened, and a group of Universe Masters stood in a circle by the edge of this deep abyss. Darkness Master, Longyang Master, Ice Mountain Master, and many Universe Masters from various races could be seen. A total of 139 Universe Masters were gathered in one place. The moment Black Prison Tower made its appearance, 139 Universe Masters launched a joint soul attack. This overwhelming soul attack swept up everything around it, and since a soul attack was intangible, there was no way the naked eye could detect it whatsoever. All at once, 139 Universe Masters, even those who were more skilled in close-range combats and material attacks, were all executing soul attack techniques instead. Right away, the intangible soul attack charged toward a round-capped palace true treasure that was nearest to it. Not good. Beware of the soul attack. The United Forces camp could immediately sense something amiss. However, they had charged straight into the core ground right away, which meant that they were already very close to Star Tower. Furthermore, they had thought that the great beings of the human camp were hiding in the boat of Mausoleum, so they did not exercise vigilance against Star Tower. A while later, over 100 Universe Masters were launching joint attacks focused on one of the 11 Palace True Treasures. A Pinnacle Palace True Treasure was not a Supreme True Treasure, so it was incapable of warding off a soul attack. Block it. Devil Ancestor of Prison Clan roared in rage. A big group of Universe Masters in his surroundings were oblivious at the beginning, but as the soul attack closed in on them, naturally they started to sense it. They, too, executed soul attack techniques with their blurred godly power and threw their attacks at their opponent. However, it was a force of 139 Universe Masters on the other side, while they only had around 40 Universe Masters with a single Universe Supreme Master. The difference was much too vast. This was one disadvantage of dividing forces. By dividing themselves into 11 teams, indeed, the effect of Ancient God Eye would be greatly reduced, but at the same time, once any one team was attacked by the humans, it would almost be impossible to put up a resistance over such a terrifying attack. So the ideal situation was for 11 troops to throw out attacks together and to rain down attacks until the humans were struggling to defend themselves, eventually reaching their breakdown point. This way, their opponents would not be able to attack and, of course, they were no longer threatening. But judging by the exchange of blows earlier on, the joint soul attack by the humans was intangible, so by the time the United Forces detected it, it was already too close to them. There was no way the other teams could make it in time to render help or block the attack. The mighty soul attack, upon breaking apart the resistance put up by Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan and his team, immediately fell and hit them hard. Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan and around 40 Universe Masters in his team were all hit by the impact of the soul attack. Humans. At that moment, yells, curses, and roars all sounded at the same time. Yet no matter how they shouted and cursed, a number of Universe Masters, upon being hit by the impact, fell with a crash and completely lost consciousness. Attack! 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 It was only then that the other 10 teams arrived mightily and charged toward the human camp. Devil Ancestor, what should we do? What's our loss like? Right away, the Universe Masters were asking persistently. Devil Ancestor transmitted his message. We are still doing fine. Only one unlucky fellow has been annihilated. Then he shouted another order, attack. The Universe Masters under his command who had made it through this ordeal immediately roared in rage and started to execute their attacks in a frenzied manner. They threw their attacks at Black Tower Prison in the distance. The human soul attack had previously been terrifying, but it had consumed quite a bit of power, and they were quite weakened. Furthermore, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan had immediately put himself before his team and resisted much of the impact from the attack. The others were only hit by the remaining impact of the aftermath. Universe Masters were naturally extremely strong in soul defense, thus, only one unlucky Universe Master was unable to bear the force of the impact. As for the rest, though it was exhausting, they were all able to bear the impact and pull through to the end. 11 Palace True Treasures from the United Force Camp launched an overpowering attack capable of inundating everything between heaven and earth. Then, at the same time, they swept toward Black Prison Tower. Their might was so powerful that it threw the humans into a state of shock. Black Prison Tower, which was originally flying out of the side door of Star Tower, retreated back into Star Tower instantly. It's too powerful. The attack from the United Force Camp is simply too powerful. We are not able to block it at all. Darkness Master transmitted his reason for retreat right away. Previously, when the human camp exchanged blows with the united force of the three races, the humans had suppressed to such a great extent that it was on the verge of collapsing. And at that time, the difference in power of both parties was much smaller than it was now. This time around, it was 11 Universe Supreme Masters and around 400 Universe Masters. The other party had over 100 Universe Masters. The difference in power was far too vast. Darkness Master continued with his report. That Palace True Treasure that we attacked is now unleashing an outburst of powerful attacks, and the teams in the other Palace True Treasures were all comparable to one another. Primal Chaos City Leader, from the ambush we laid just now, there should be nothing much to gain. At most, we would have killed 1 to 2 Universe Masters, or maybe none were harmed at all. Then for now, we shall wait, said Primal Chaos City Leader. Wait inside Star Tower. Wait for the Freedom Alliance to arrive. Behind another side door within Star Tower were Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City Leader, and Pengong Master. This video will end here.